Hi, this is Richard Chamberlain, and welcome back to the Protecting Your Family's Future podcast. This is episode number 98. Now, over the last 4 weeks, we've been talking a lot about elder law, long term care planning, and we've been establishing a lot of building blocks for the issues and the options that come up in long term care planning. My partner, Tim Alley, joined us for those 4 episodes, and he talked about the different costs of long-term care and different ways of paying for that. Talked about how to qualify for Medicaid and the asset and income limitations for those. Today, we're going to start actually talking about different ways to plan to protect your assets from the cost of long-term care. Now, if you haven't listened to those last 4 episodes yet, I encourage you to do that so you can have the background. That's episodes 94, 95, 96, and 97. So go back and listen to those. And then when you listen to this one, it'll make a lot more sense. So, as I said, today we're talking about how to plan for protecting your assets from the cost of long term care. And when I'm sitting down and I'm talking with clients about what their planning goals are, very often one of their goals is to protect their assets from a nursing home spend down or from their assets being spent down to nothing on long term care. And we talk about how you go about doing that. Now, the best time to do that is at least 5 years before you need to have the state step in and pay your long term care costs. The reason for that is because of the 5 year look back. Now, if you're not familiar with that term, the 5 year look back, we spent an episode back in episode number 27 talking about the 5 year look back and what that is. Now, basically, what it means is if a person is in a nursing home or a long term care facility and they're out of assets and they apply for Medicaid for the state to pay the cost of that long term care, the state looks back 5 years from the time of that application and sees if the person had made any transfers for the purposes of qualifying for Medicaid. If they got rid of their assets essentially so that they wouldn't have anything, they would meet the asset qualifications for Medicaid. Now, if they find those transfers within those 5 years, then a penalty is assessed, and the length of the penalty is based on the amount of assets that were transferred. In Ohio, that amount is roughly 1 month of penalty for each roughly $7,500 of assets transferred. So it's definitely going to make a lot of sense to do this planning, like I say, at least 5 years before you need it. And so you do need a little bit of a crystal ball, which of course nobody has. And so doing it as soon as possible in a timing that makes sense is going to be the best way to do it. Now, I say in a way that makes sense because in order to really protect your assets from this potential cost, you need to give them away. And the best way to do that is in an irrevocable trust. We talked about irrevocable trusts back in episode 26. That was the first time we talked about it. So if you're wanting to learn more about them and how they work, go back and listen to episode number 26. But essentially, in an irrevocable trust, you name someone else as the trustee of the trust. You don't have access to the assets that are put into that irrevocable trust. And those assets are then protected from your creditors, potential creditors, including nursing home costs. And if you can do that 5 years before you go into a nursing home and are out of money, then those assets can be fully protected. Now, a lot of times when we're doing this, what we call proactive planning, we're not putting all assets into an irrevocable trust. We're only putting some of the assets in. We might put a home into an irrevocable trust, for example. We might put an investment account. We might put other assets. But the idea is not to completely give away control of all of your assets, only some of the assets that we're trying to protect, and then leaving other assets out of that irrevocable trust so that you have assets that you can use to live on. Because you certainly don't want to put yourself in a position where you're not able to meet your daily needs. So certainly looking into this is a good thing to do if you're concerned about the cost of long-term care and possibly protecting your assets. We find that the clients that this is best suited for are generally in their 70s or 80s because they're more concerned about the prospect of long-term care. It's becoming more real to them. As you're younger, it doesn't make sense to do this kind of planning in most cases, but sometimes it does. So next week, we're going to talk about what happens if you aren't planning within 5 years. If you have someone already in the nursing home or someone who is about to be in a nursing home, and what can be done in those situations. And I hope you'll join us then. In the meantime, if you have any questions about how to protect your assets from your potential long-term care costs and you want to meet with me or one of our attorneys, you can reach out to us. The contact information is in the show notes. And if you are in Ohio or in Michigan, we'd be glad to talk to you and help you with that. So I hope that's helpful for you today, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks.